Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you, not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
And Scotty Boner with you guys.
We are
the Blood Brothers.
And
O'Neilio.
O'Neilio! Oh, so you're going to change it now. We're going to change
that.
Well, I mean,
all your branding.
I've changed everything to O'Neilio.
We're changing all your branding. He's no longer the Rob.
Now going to O'Neilio. I like it.
I am O'Neilio, formerly known as the Rob.
Oh, okay.
You can switch it up.
We have a special guest, Carmelo Chimera. How's it going?
Very great. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys listening probably seen him around the group and everything. And we are doing this special episode to promote a graphic novel that his company has, is releasing, right? You're like in the midst of releasing it?
Yeah, so the book will be out in the early part of 2019, but we're running a Kickstarter campaign for it now to fund the production of it.
Nice.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
Well, but you did send me like almost finished PDF. Is that sort of what you're raising money for, is to continue to complete it all?
Well, so the book is done, and since I sent you that advanced copy, the last remaining pages have been finished. So it is, the book is 100% finished. It's just not printed, and that's mostly what the Kickstarter's for, is to raise money for the printing costs. But the book is done. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Well, I'm just letting everyone know that I am an idiot when it comes to graphic novels and comics. Just haven't really been a collector, and so just we're just going to be starting from square one here. That's all.
Hey, heck yeah.
I think, I did collect comics for like 1 year when I was like 10.
We read some comics back in the day. So yeah, we still have some.
My prize possession was like a couple Spawn comics I had. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. I love Spawn.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I had that awesome little rubber Violator figurine where you could like bend his limbs to do whatever you want.
Oh yeah,
Anyways.
Yeah, that was great.
All right,
great characters.
so just tell before we get into the actual novel itself, should I call it a novel, a graphic novel, or just the book?
Yeah, either one is fine. I mean, I'm not. Some people get real snobbish about calling their comic books graphic novels, and frankly, it's just putting lipstick on a pig at that point. So it doesn't really matter what you call it.
Oh, okay.
Which is literally what Rob does for fun in the South, right, Rob?
That's exactly what we do.
You put lipsticks on pigs, and then you make out with it. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure a lot of girls that I got nothing. I was getting.
I like that. I like that phrase though. The lipstick on a pig. That's a good use. I like that.
I'm just full of stuff like that.
Right.
Your voice is so soothing.
For those of you, but also before we get into the novel, for those of you listening, right after this, we'll be recording our first Cult Classic Action episode, also with Carmelo Chimera on the episode for patrons only. So. A $5 and up
I feel
patron.
like Willy Wonka won the golden ticket. I feel like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory right now recording it.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It really
I got a
is.
golden ticket. That's the song. By the way, Rob.
No, don't sing.
At least the play. I don't know if it's in the movie.
Yeah, the movies. Yeah, that's in both play and the movie. I think you got to include that song for sure.
Got it. So yeah, he'll be on Cult Classic Action, which will be covering Cobra. And so yeah, if you want to join the conversation, you need to go to patreon.com/cultclassichorror and pledge at the $5 or above level monthly. So we'll be putting those out.
It's going to be exciting.
We haven't really decided yet. We're going to put them out either like bi-weekly or monthly. We're probably going to shoot for bi-weekly. And if it happens to be a couple or monthly, then then that's what happens.
Yeah.
So until you enough of you pledge and we just do this full time and we can release like 3 a week.
Then this will be a full-time thing, and we can devote more of our time to it. Exactly.
Anyways. All right, so back to the comic book graphic novel. So tell me, you guys, now your company, it's Chimera Comics, right, Carmelo?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and now you guys, is it just one? You have a physical location?
Yeah. So we have 2 stores, and we started as stores. Actually, I wrote my first graphic novel in college, showed it to a buddy. He started drawing it, and then one day we kind of got distracted and made a store instead of a comic book. So that was 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, we made the wrong turn at Albuquerque, as Bugs Bunny says, and we ended up at a comic book store. And then I made another one. So we have 2 stores, and after that, we kind of got back to this idea of making our own comics, and it was 2015. That was the first time I used Kickstarter, and my thinking then was we need to make a big public commitment to finishing this comic book. Otherwise, we're never going to do it. And so we did. We were successful. We raised like $8,000 for our first comic book. And it looked like people wanted more. So when I floated the idea of like a horror anthology, that's when a bunch of creators that we knew all kind of started throwing their hat in the ring and said, yeah, I got horror comics coming out of my ears. So we did Cellar Door. And this one's blowing the doors off our last book.
Really? What was the sort of theme on the last book you did?
So my first comic was a superhero graphic novel called Magnificent, named after Chicago's Magnificent Mile. And it's about a superhero who's kidnapped and he's being tortured and experimented on. And in the end, when he escapes, he has to decide if he's going to continue to be a hero or if he's going to take his revenge after all the bad stuff that happened to him.
Ah, okay.
So it's kind of a deconstruction as superhero thing, but I also chock full of kick-ass superhero action. So it's that was a lot of fun. That was a passion project for me.
Okay. Now both stores in and around the Chicago area.
Yeah, they're in the southwest suburbs. One is in a town called LaGrange, and another is in a town called Oak Lawn. Okay,
both Carmelo or Chimera Comics, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool that you have actually brick and mortar storefronts too. That you have your own like place that that you sell comics and stuff.
That would be one of those things I'd drive by and be like, how the fuck do they stay in business? Like,
I ask myself that every day.
Like, so you get enough people coming in to buy comics, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
We do. I mean, for a long time now, too. 7 years we've been doing this.
That's awesome.
There was a comic book shop that opened here in Longmont for like, oh God, I think I saw it there for 3 months or something, and then it went right out. And it had a cool little theme too. There's this random wood cabin looking thing right on Main Street that was like a sewing shop for the longest time. And then all of a sudden it was Cabin Fever Comics, and I loved the name and that it was a cabin, and I was like, oh yeah, that's badass. But it was there for like 3 months. So
that's a shame. That actually does sound really cool.
Yeah.
So there was actually another one when we were kids that was a sports card / comic store.
That's where I bought them.
And that was there for years and years.
It was mostly sports stuff, though, right?
I think it was.
Are you talking about Triple Play?
Yeah, Triple A. Yeah, Triple Play. Yeah, Triple Play comics and cards. So, but yeah, but those places. I mean, I love like comic stores because it's really, you can go in there and it's like you're at your house. You're going in there, you're doing something you
love.
love.
What that means
you're in like the comfort of your home. You can sit down on a couch, you can read a comic. It's just, there's something personal about it.
Do you have a comic store in Tallahassee, Rob?
We did for years and years and years, and I'm not sure if it's still open. It was a comic book store for a long time, and then it turned into a comic book used bookstore. And I guess we still do. Fallout Comics is one that we have. Okay. And the bookshelf. That's what I was thinking. There's one called the bookshelf.
I know it's tough to find people that read down there, and so it's I don't know how they would stay alive.
Yeah, the comments have pictures.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so we do fairly
graphic
well with
novel. See,
I hope no one listening actually gets offended. I'm just trying to offend Rob. Just Rob.
Yeah, the South will rise again, Danny. They will come to take you down.
Yes.
Yes. Is everyone in Florida retired anyway? I don't think they have the energy to come up to Colorado and kick your ass.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
It's retirement community. Yeah.
But Florida's a weird animal, Rob, because is Tallahassee considered the South? But then once you get further south into like Orlando, it's not considered the South.
No, the Panhandle's the only southern part of Florida. Then, the further south you go, that's where all the Yankees have moved in, all them snowbirds.
Funny story.
They brought down all their liberal voting tendencies, and
of course. Well, this is how racist and prejudiced that my father-in-law is. It was funny. You know what? It's not that he's like this bigot that yells, and my dad's the same way. Like, we probably have a lot of parents that are like just a little racist, like they don't really realize it, but then they say some things and you're like, whoa, that's pretty racist.
Right.
That's how my grandma was.
My grandma was over the top racist.
Yeah.
She was like, shit. I mean, just here's a couple grandma comments. We were out in the snow and there was like some Hispanic people outside of Walgreens in wife beaters. And she's like, oh, they eat that spicy food to keep them warm.
My grandma, calm down.
Okay. And then every girlfriend I ever had, I would go, oh, yeah, Grandma, I have a new girlfriend. Oh, is she white?
No, Grandma.
First thing she would ask, like 3 different times, I swear.
Rest in peace.
I think everybody's grandparents are a little bit racist, right? You know what grandparents do?
Yeah, it's pretty much
exactly.
it. But anyways, back to my Florida point is we went down, we went to, God, was it last year? I don't know. We've been to Disney a few years in a row, and we were going to go instead to one of the Keys with my wife's dad and stepmom, and we were going to go to one of the Keys, and he changed it back to Orlando because he heard there were a lot of gays in the Keys.
There's a lot of gays all over Florida. It's got nothing to do with the Keys.
I was like, is that really why we're not going?
I would have wanted to go to the Keys. It's beautiful down there.
I was sort of excited. Then he's like, my Hank told me there were too many gays there. It's like, oh, all right.
Okay.
See, my grandmother said there's too many fruits and nuts down there.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, anyways, so going back to the production of the graphic novel, now that's something that you guys, I mean, you don't do that yourselves, right? You have a company that you probably use to actually print and produce the book, right?
Yeah, so for the physical printing, and that's something that we use printers actually in China, and oftentimes you'll have an American company that brokers it, and they'll farm out the physical printing, and many times they won't even use the same printer 2 or 3 times in a row. They'll be constantly changing to get you the best price.
Yeah.
This time I did go directly to China though to try to find better pricing myself. But I don't print that in house. Okay,
all right. And then, but most of the stuff you guys carry in house. How does it just to stock the store? What does that look like? Is there you can bulk order like from a comic vendor?
Yeah, so comics are a funny animal because there's only one monopolistic distributor, and they're called Diamond Comics. And there was like a big war of comic distributors in the 90s, and Diamond's the last man standing. And this industry is so small that the SEC or whoever is supposed to keep an eye on that shit doesn't intervene. But it's definitely an antitrust violation.
I bet.
Yeah,
Jeez.
which is why you don't really see comic books at almost any store other than comic book stores. You might see the graphic novels at a bookstore because you can get those through the book distributors, but the periodical monthly comic books are a huge pain in the ass. Everything is proprietary. Diamond Comics has their own ordering system, has their own order codes, and we know what we're doing with it. We specialize in it, but no one else does. No one else wants to deal with that noise.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because there's tons of comics, and there's not enough room.
And how many of these titles are there? A lot still doing periodical monthly releases?
Oh yeah. So the big two are always Marvel and DC, and Marvel might have 100 comic book titles come out in a month.
Wow.
And DC usually much less. The Marvel strategy is like, well, we'll take over the market by just having more comics. And, DC claims, well, we do less, but of higher quality. I don't know how true that is, but they definitely do less of them. So, every month I get a catalog. It must be like 300 pages, this catalog we get every month. And then we got to go through every comic book and place an order. And the real hard thing for comic books that's unique to comic book periodicals is that they're not returnable. So like if you owned a store and you sold magazines, you could like tear off the covers and send them back and get your money back at the end of every month. That's what like your grocery store does with their magazines. But with comic books, there's no returnability, so I take the full risk of that every month.
Oh, wow. So is that something where obviously you have to strategize and put past months' issues at a deep discount and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're always guessing, and we're always 2 months behind the curve. So like I'm ordering comics right now for January, and I can only base that on previous numbers, but the past is only so good of a prediction of the future. It's hard to and then once in a while they slip a penis into a comic like they did with Batman Damned #1, and then I sell out of it in the first day because everybody wants to look at Batman's junk, and it's like, how was I supposed to know that 2 months ago when I ordered it?
I could have ordered more copies.
Exactly. If I didn't know Bat Dong was going to be in it, I would have ordered like 6 times as many copies. But we do our best guess and then see what happens.
That's nice. And so, do you? I swear to God, we're going to talk about the novel, but I just keep talking about.
What did Batman's dick look like?
Yeah, what did it? I want to know now.
Let's just say this: it was enormous. So let's just go with that.
Okay, that's what I was hoping for. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I modeled for it, and that's why it was so impressive. But
of course. Can I just say that I know what Carmelo looks like, and he's like a handsome guy with great hair. But while he's talking, all I can picture is Turtle from Entourage.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, for sure. What's his real name?
Just the voice. That's all I'm saying.
What's Turtle's real name?
Jerry Ferrara?
That's right.
I just looked
Jerry
him up.
Ferrara. Yeah. I can picture that. that.
Okay, anyways, I'm moving on here.
I gotta look this guy up now. I gotta see this.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I was gonna say something. I just might have to move on. I forgot what I was gonna say. But how great comics smell. Oh, they do smell good. New comics. All right.
New comic
magazines,
smell.
New anything.
I just love the smell of comic. Magazine's great too, but comic smell is the best. Does your stores smell like awesome comics?
It absolutely does. If I could sell air fresheners that smell like comic books, I would probably be my best-selling product.
Oh God, you need to make that.
So I remember I was going to ask a little bit more about how they're on a monthly thing. So do you have a program where you put people on subscriptions and they just automatically like get the next comic?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you have like insider knowledge or you're just really intuitive about this, but you nailed it. That's the backbone of our business. It's like we call them subscribers, and they tell us, hey, I never want to miss Batman, Walking Dead, and Spider-Man or whatever they want, and then we hold as many as 100, as few as 1. It runs the gamut, and that's like how we do the ordering, right? Is I told you that we guess, and that is true. But I go off of like, all right, it's Batman. Let's say that I have 20 people tell me they want Batman every month, so I start from there, and then I figure from there how many I think I can sell off the shelf. Okay. Sometimes if someone wants a comic, you got to figure that more people want it who then didn't ask for it, and that happens. Once in a while, there's something really esoteric and really, really fringe that someone requests and you say, well, I don't need any of that for the shelf. This probably the only person in the world who cares just asked for it. So
yeah. And do you probably, do you have them? Monthly they have to come in and physically pick up the copy, right?
Yeah, so because this is Chicago, if they don't come in once a month, I go to their house and I twist their arm around their back and break their left thumb.
Of course,
until they come in and buy their comics.
Like you do, yeah.
Yeah, just that's very common around here. That's my USPS delivery guy. He does it all the time. Across the street, I see him breaking people's thumbs.
Of course, yeah. It's just yeah.
So you take pointers from him. You're like, how do you do it so quickly?
And he does it with a cannoli in the other hand.
Yeah,
he has a cannoli in one hand.
And exactly.
if I didn't just have cannolis for dinner last night, I would call it racist. I definitely bought 28 cannolis from the grocery yesterday. So.
All right. Okay.
Oh, nice. And then you had one this morning with your 6 cups of coffee, right?
Naturally.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
had a bad choice late night Wendy's, and I'm paying for it this morning.
I had some Taco Bell too. It's still rumbling in my stomach.
That's not good. I usually don't eat like that, but
Yeah.
oh well. All right, let's. Okay, moving on to so Cellar Door. This is a horror anthology, and is this like? I guess it's probably your first original horror anthology, right?
Yeah, I mean, this will be only the second graphic novel that we've made as a company, so it's the first anthology. And
Okay.
I've never published any of my horror work before. So this is
Okay.
my first.
Well, and now I'm looking
this is
at
exciting.
the creators here, and what is it? Is it you and is your brother involved too? Is that what it is?
Yeah, my brother is a little prodigy. He's only 17, and he wrote a short story in there called The Clockwork Man. You might have seen, I think I put it in the Facebook group, a short film we made with this character as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
He actually, so it took me 28 years to publish my first graphic novel, and the only way I could think to do it was create my own publishing company. Nicholas got a publisher for his first novel. It comes out in December.
Wow.
It's like a young adult superhero novel called The Crusader. So he got picked up by a publisher, and he's not even in college yet. So he was blown up.
So you're like,
And
God
you got to
dang it.
hear about that all the time.
You're like,
don't you?
bastard.
Yeah, so obviously I
Why
had to
can't
call
you?
his
Why can't you
agents to
be
get him
more
to
like
support.
Nicholas? Okay, Nicholas. So I can't.
Well, and
Nicholas.
I thought you were gonna be a lawyer. Okay, see, we had plans. I thought you were gonna be a lawyer.
Yes, my parents wanted both. So I have two brothers, and they wanted the middle child and I to both be lawyers. Nicholas is the only one they're not pressuring to go to law school because they just know he's so much more talented than the rest of us.
well, would he even be into the comics if it weren't for you, though?
Yeah, that's a good point. I've probably guided him in this direction a little bit. Yeah.
All right. So now he's a writer. Does he also draw too?
He does actually.
Okay.
He draws, and he's taken drawing classes. I can't draw my way out of a paper bag, so
All right.
I kind of leave that to him.
Okay. And now
I'm right there with you.
Now, is this a sister you have here, or wife, or another
That's my
Chimera?
wife. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right. So what is?
Yeah, we just got married back in June, and
Oh, congrats.
yeah, thank you. So she, while we were dating, she actually told me about this nightmare she had when she was in college. She said she wrote it down, and it was really disturbing. It wasn't in your advanced copy because we just finished the artwork for it. But she had told me about it years ago, and I said, God, that's really scary. So when I started doing Cellar Door, she was like, honey, I think I'd like to put a story in there. And I said, if it's that one you had a nightmare about, then done deal. It's the most real of them. There's no monsters or anything in hers. It's all like just human stuff. And that's maybe the scariest, right? Because this is something that could totally happen. Particularly in Tallahassee is probably something you'll see down there, Rob. So when she said she wanted to make it a comic book, I got very excited.
Okay.
That's awesome. Of course, I'm sure the conversation was more like, look, we'll talk once the sausage and peppers are done.
I made sausage and peppers for dinner last night. Are you
No way.
Jesus.
We're just
I wanted
throwing-
to be called racist, and I can't because I am this big stereotype organ grinder.
We're just throwing out all the stereotypes, and it's just happening.
It's making me want to move to
Sausage and peppers.
Chicago. Like,
If you guys are ever in Chicago, come by. I'll share some of my father's homemade wine with you.
Ooh, heck. Oh, that sounds amazing.
I'm not a wine drinker, but that's okay.
Because all these stereotypes that I have are becoming true, it's just making Chicago look that much better.
Yeah, well, we all know
if it's
Rob.
homemade wine,
We
it's
all
gonna
know
be really
Rob
good.
won't ever travel or move anywhere that's not 30 minutes outside of Tallahassee.
Look, I just looked at plane tickets to Chicago from Tallahassee. They're like
Wow.
$900 out of my janky ass airport.
Yeah, your airport's
Yeah,
fucked.
you might as well just drive there then. It's
How far is
it's
that
closer.
drive? That can't be that far, right? 8 hours? I don't know. It's probably more than that.
Oh, the Florida from here? God, it's probably like 20 hours.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
15 hours.
From Tallahassee, because I got Tallahassee's right in the pan.
I think
right
we're
above there.
only like 12 hours from Chicago, maybe a little more.
Well,
Yeah,
you're like 24 solid hours.
We were just in
From you?
Yeah.
We were just in Pekin,
so you
Illinois.
you could literally be here at this time tomorrow, Rob.
Yeah.
I have never heard of Pekin, Illinois.
Pekin? Yeah, I'd never either.
We were just in
I was
Pekin,
calling it Pecking, and everyone was
Peking.
like, "This is Pekin."
Pekin,
I'm like,
Illinois.
"Oh, sorry."
It's like right outside of Springfield and by Peoria. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way south from Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
So
We played a show there.
it was all right. It was okay. Anyways, okay. So I see. You brought in some of the family here. What is your? I mean, are your parents happy now that you have a couple comic book stores and you're not a lawyer?
Well, I actually still am a lawyer. I work in
cool.
the private equity group of a firm in Chicago right now, and but I don't know how proud they'd be of me, so I'm going to keep their name out of this. But in any case, my parents are proud. If you ask them, they'll tell you that they're proud of me. I don't know if that's just like a lie to keep up my self-esteem or not, but it sounds sincere when they say it.
Of course,
of course. But this is your passion. Your passion is doing the graphic novel and the comics and stuff, and then the lawyer is just kind of your day job.
Yeah. I mean,
But you have your stores running, so that's a day job too, I guess. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like 3 full-time jobs.
Hey, keep them busy. That's great.
So
awesome.
I'm looking at this here. So you have written 3 of these stories in the anthology?
Yeah, I wrote 3 of them. One of them was kind of a latecomer, and it was actually just a few pages of random artwork that one of our customers had done. We do an event every year called 24-Hour Comics Day, where we stay up for 24 hours making comics, and it's actually an international event, and we host it. So this guy had done these pages, and they were super awesome and super scary, this like surrealist art. And I asked if I could put it in the anthology, and I was going to just throw them in as like pinups, but he asked if I could kind of turn them into a story. So I didn't intend to write it, and I feel like more he wrote it because he did the artwork first and I added the words later. But I did my best to weave it into something, kind of akin to a nightmare.
Which story was that?
Nice.
That was called Bad Moon.
Okay, I see that right here. All right. So yeah, all right. Okay, nice.
And
yeah.
And how many stories are in the anthology?
There are. Well, you tell us.
I think there's 14 stories in it, and I guess a spoiler for everybody is that there is one more story that I have not included that I would use as a stretch goal for our Kickstarter. So I don't know how familiar you are with Kickstarter campaigns, but one unofficial mechanism is this stretch goal idea that, hey, even if we hit our funding, if we get more than our funding, we'll throw in some kind of added value to the backers. And so I have an entire other 20-page story ready to go if we can overfund the project.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
I supported the last Kickstarter he did. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Oh, did you? Wow.
Rob is a valued backer, and I appreciated it very much.
Rob's supporting Chimera's Comics, but then demanding free shit from CCH.
Well, Carmelo's like, there is like some goodie bags and stuff that like keychains and other things I think that were coming.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you've got some rewards coming from that last campaign soon. And the same thing with this one is like, you ask people for money, but you aren't just asking them for like a donation.
Sure.
They get stuff for their Kickstarter pledge.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, Danny,
it's sort
like
of
a hoodie.
It's sort of just like if they give us $5 a month, they can listen to Cult Classic Action, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's and the thought is that, there's a genuine transaction there is their $5 is not worth as much to them as the countless hours of enjoyment they'll get from Cult Classic Action. So,
Yeah,
exactly.
Of course, you're really going to miss out because I really am going to dig deep on the deep meaning of these these phrases from Stallone and Cobra coming up here.
Oh, guys, I've got flow charts and whiteboards set up for Cobra. I am so excited to talk about Stallone.
Oh, me too, man.
This is where the law stops and where I begin.
You're ruining it, Rob.
I've had an erection since he said it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, ever since Carmelo started talking, I still have an erection.
Guys, if that doesn't go away in 4 hours, don't bother calling your doctor. He can't help you.
Oh, God damn it.
It's there for
I was
good.
afraid of that. Shit.
Now, one thing I noticed throughout this graphic novel is the artwork and the styles are very different, like story to story. And is that something you guys do on purpose and sort of mix them around to keep the variety there?
Yeah, that was an intentional choice on my part. So I sort of functioned as the editor of this particular book, and I try to stay out of the creator's business as much as possible. But in terms of who I selected to be in the anthology and what order I put them in, I wanted to create variety because, some of the stories are in black and white, or some are black and white with a splash of color, or some are watercolor painted, and they're all very different. And I wanted people to get a feeling that there'd be that variety. I didn't want them to read one story and think the whole anthology would be the same way. Because black and white's cool, but it's not. I wouldn't be pricing it the same for a 140-page black and white graphic novel. So I want to make sure you get the idea that that's just one aspect of it.
Sure. No. It was great, and then you get to see sort of the talents of these different artists, and yeah, you can pick your favorites, and it's for everyone. So I don't know. I'm just keep mumbling.
No, I think you're right.
I was trying to, again, not only to create the sense of variety, but there's, as guys who watch as many horror movies as you do, that there's so many different ways to go at it. So some of these, like the first story in there, I think is called Digger's Grove, and it's a more 80s slasher kind of thing. And even the artwork has like these voluptuous women and gory kills and stuff. And that's definitely one kind of horror, and it's one I enjoy a lot. But then I wanted to balance that, right, with something more, psychological and maybe looking a little bit more like classic horror comics. And that's where you get my cellar door story that runs throughout the book and has the fully watercolored paintings. So, those are just two very different things and two very different examples. But I wanted to showcase all these different ways of telling a horror story.
Yeah, well, and I like how Cellar Door runs throughout. It's like a creep show type aspect anthology where you have that base story. And
see, and that is literally exactly what I was going for. I had seen Creep Show for the first time, believe it or not, about 3 or 4 months ago. I'd never seen it before.
Oh wow!
And
that's a great movie.
It's fantastic.
Love it.
And of course, not only does it have a story that runs throughout it, but the story that runs throughout it is the comic book, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw it and I thought, this is what Cellar Door is missing, is it's missing something that connects all of these aspects. Around the same time, I got the cover, and the cover has that like Leviathan creature, this Lovecraftian creature coming out of the cellar. So that happened at the same time I saw Creep Show, and that's where I got this idea of feeding a creature in the cellar the stories. So it really was because of the movie Creep Show that it does that.
Wow, and
Awesome.
in the description you sent me, you just mentioned Lovecraft. You mentioned these stories are sort of cut from the same cloth as H.P. Lovecraft, Twilight Zone. Were you sort of keeping that in mind when you were picking them? They have to have some kind of maybe, I guess, what Lovecraft would be more of a like monster type thing, and you'd have the Twilight Zone that has some psychological to it.
So the original concept was for sci-fi horror, and we started with that very general kind of idea. And in the end, maybe not all of them were sci-fi horror, but what I sort of told each creative team was, think of it in terms of Twilight Zone. That's a show that not every episode was space or aliens, but they all kind of had that twisty, turny aspect that kind of makes you look at the world a little bit differently at the end. And to me, that's sci-fi, even if it's not, ray guns and time travel. So that was the marching order for the teams. As far as it's Lovecraftian, Lovecraft kind of has, yes, the monsters, but it's really that sense of like cosmic horror. And so that was kind of where I saw the connection between Lovecraft and the Twilight Zone.
I just said monsters because I actually am not familiar with Lovecraft.
Well, so that's the funny thing. It's like,
Yeah.
we maybe aren't super familiar with Lovecraft directly. He was rather obscure in his lifetime, but he was a huge influence on Stephen King or even Evil Dead. You might know that the word Necronomicon comes from Lovecraft's work. So it's the kind of thing where you might not be familiar with him directly, but he influenced so-and-so who influences so-and-so. And
Wasn't Reanimator directly Lovecraft? Was that Rob? I can't remember. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
All right.
There's been a whole bunch. I mean, I actually have some of his like short story stuff. I'm not too familiar with him, but you could draw so many parallels that people have picked up from H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
He like planted like the influence seed, and it just piggybacked, and everyone influenced off of him, and then passed it down the line.
Yep.
So he's like one of the the Godfather.
Scotty likes to think of ways to re-explain things.
Yeah, well, the seed, you know.
The
seed. You guys hear what I'm saying,
seed,
right?
It blossoms into a flower of Lovecraft knowledge that then the what the flowers let go, the bees. Oh, then the pollen goes into other writers' minds.
I have the Holy Bible opened up right now. I'm just trying to reference from that right now.
Just read from Psalms.
Yes.
Flowery languages.
Exactly.
If I may recite a song. Okay. Anyways,
how long does it take you to write? Or I guess you wrote 3 stories, right?
Right.
How long did it take you to write each story? Is it tough to actually,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So it really depends on the story. I wrote, for example, the Oedipus Paradox is one of my stories in there, and I wrote that over a long weekend, but I refined it over time because, you take a step back, and something that's as confusing as time travel, you got to revisit it and say, does it make sense? But then something like Cellar Door, by which I mean the story that runs throughout Cellar Door, that I wrote in one sitting. It just all came to me all at once, and I just kind of knew what I wanted to do with it instantly. So it really depends. I told you that first graphic novel I did, Magnificent. I wrote it again in about a week, and then I spent years tweaking it because the art took so long, and I ended up rewriting the dialogue for it at the very last stages of it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it really
because then all the graphics come. You're like, and then your mind changes a little bit over the years. You're like, okay, let's switch that.
Exactly. Yeah, and also, I'm a much better writer now than I was when I was 19 when I first wrote it.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Particularly with dialogue, you see that, like, oh man, nobody really talks like that. You gotta make it more conversational and
yeah.
Now there's another Chimera. Is this like a mistress or something? Francesca?
Oh, it's my cousin.
Danny thinking it's a mistress.
Yeah, Francesca, I joke, is talented in all the ways that I'm not. So she's like musically gifted, and she's gifted at painting, and so she's got all of the good Lord divided up talents and gave her half and gave me the other half. And she watercolored the Cellar Door pages.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I selected her to do that after I got the artwork, because I got the line art for Cellar Door just looked so freaking cool, and I thought this needs something with a lot of texture and a lot of heart, and you can't get that really with the digital colors, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. You've lucked up with all this talent in your family, because I figured Chicago Carmelo. Look, your brother needs something to do. Okay, let him write a story for your picture book. Okay, I've seen your cousin color. She's very talented.
She colors by numbers. She could color in your book. Just number it.
That certainly has been the case with some family members, but with these particular ones, I almost had to contact their booking agents. These two, my little brother and my cousin, both have agents.
Oh wow!
Oh jeez,
nice.
I know.
You're like, can we put them on this? Is this okay?
We just went through that with the film we did. We didn't end up doing it, but I was like, because the actors are our friends and we are actors too, and we're like, do we need to talk to your agent about this? We're like, nah.
Yeah, we're good. Under the table, we're good to go.
But
the agent shouldn't get a cut of work they went and got on their own.
Yeah, no way. I feel like Chimera is a made-up last name because you sell comics.
You sure would think that, but it is absolutely my real name.
That's so crazy.
I was born for this.
He's a lawyer. He filled out all the paperwork, changed his name to make it sound more.
Yeah, I love that last name. It's awesome.
That's what it was.
You know the metal band Chimera, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I know it's spelled different.
Everyone's probably like, I bet you love Chimera.
Well, you know what's funny is I can learn a lot about a person by the reaction to my last name. Some people will go, oh, like the mythological like monster, and I'm like, oh, you've studied like literature, and then other people are like, oh, like the heavy metal band. I'm like, you rock and roll, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I have a little
Got
story.
two different people here.
I have a short story about Chimera, the metal band. I used to love them like a lot. Now
we saw them in concert.
Now I'm past that. that. They're like, I don't like him as much anymore because I'm on to heavier and crazier things. But we saw him in.
Impressive.
Yeah, we saw him in Boulder, and like they were playing, and literally someone threw a tomato at them, and the singer stopped. It might have been at the end of the song, or he stopped the song, and he would not let it go. He's like, "Who the fuck threw this? Who the fuck threw this tomato?" And of course, no one's saying anything.
It was
like
a huge crowd,
packed room full of people, And like a room full of like 200. It was a small venue, like 200-300 people got quiet, like dad hit mom or something. Who the fuck threw this tomato? And he sat there. He did it for like 3 minutes straight, like just standing on stage. He would not let it go, and he got worse and worse. He's like, I will meet you in the back fucking alley, and I will fucking stab you to death. And like,
oh my God,
we were all like, dude, someone just threw a tomato. Calm the fuck down. Just keep playing.
This is why people.
It's gonna be funny one day. It's gonna be funny one day when somebody takes somebody up on that, and then the next tomorrow's headline: heavy metal band leader of Chimera was beaten mercilessly, stabbed in a back alley in Denver.
Exactly.
Apparently he.
Yeah.
Apparently he challenged an ex Green Beret with PTSD to a fist fight.
Yeah.
And
dude was pissed.
Big mistake.
We're so not like that. If someone threw a tomato at us, I would just laugh and throw it back.
I'd be like, thank you. And I start like eating it or something.
That's the right reaction. You kind of take all the power out of that statement if you show you don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, calm down.
I would love to be so famous that people throw tomatoes at me. It's just like my career goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, So it's on Kickstarter. I mean, tell everyone where they can go to, support it. What's the link?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do would be to type Cellar Door into Kickstarter, but I made a short link. You can go to bit.ly/open the cellar, bit.ly/open the cellar, and you can pledge there. Of course, the fine folks at Cult Classic Horror have their own special.
That's right. I shouldn't have even told you to tell them what the link is. God damn.
Well, it's good to have multiple.
No, you should definitely pledge through Cult Classic Horror, and because that's how we support the podcast too. And
yeah, a lot of. I totally spaced that.
No worries. So they'll put the link in the show notes or description.
Yes, everyone, we will supply you with the link.
Yes.
Wherever you went to listen to this show, it will be in the description. Whether that's on the iTunes description or the Facebook post or Twitter post or in the email. So just check back there, and we will have the link where you can go and support Cellar Door. So, sorry.
Yeah, really, I appreciate you sharing that with everybody, and hopefully they at least take a look. I got some cool stuff up there, and it's not. I don't know if you're familiar with Kickstarter. You don't just give money for nothing. You get get some cool shit for it. So.
Yeah, you have different levels, right? And you get the more you pledge, the cooler shit you get, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
All right. So do you? This being your second sort of original graphic novel, are you going to start trying to pump these out more often now?
That's my hope. I would like to do at least one graphic novel a year. I would like to do maybe 2 prose novels a year on top of that, because the graphic novels take a lot longer to produce with the artwork. Mm-hmm. And the prose stuff I can write on my own. So, but yeah, it took me 9 years to get out the first graphic novel, so I really need to increase my batting average with this stuff.
Yeah.
So I already have the next 2 things in production, and hopefully they'll come out, over the next 12 months. All right.
Heck yeah.
Well, this is great. I mean, this is the artwork's awesome. Danny was skimming through it, and I was really looking at it, and the artwork's great. And this is horror, you guys. So go out there, click the link once you see this, and just check it out, and support your horror community.
Yeah, and help out Carmelo, because he's in there in the groups chatting it up and supporting us too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, thanks for saying that, guys. I appreciate it. You guys did a good thing for all these Island of Misfit Toys horror lovers. You know, we gotta come together because
exactly.
You know, not everyone's as into this stuff in your own personal life, but you come online, you find out there's lots of people just like us who love this shit, and you give us a place to talk about it and share the memes, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and if we all just come together, exactly. So
Yep. Well, cool. Well, and speaking of come together, CCA Cult Classic Action. Check it out, because not every horror fan loves action, but most horror fans love good old fucking action.
Yeah, of course. So you got to appreciate
Patreon.com/Cult Classic Horror. We're about to release the first episode later tonight, and you'll have access to that. Well, okay, I said later tonight, but this is probably getting released like tomorrow or something, so last night.
Yeah, there you go.
So...
You're fucking me up, man.
Cool. Well, I don't know. Do you have anything else? Burning questions, Rob? I know you have burning sensation in your pee-pee, but besides that...
Yeah, the burning sensation in the wiener is just from all the sounding I've been doing lately.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But no, I just got my link to read it. I've been looking at it as we've been doing the interview. It looks awesome. I hope everybody that listens goes out, supports the Kickstarter. I have no history with comic books or graphic novels, but this is really cool. Looking forward to getting my autographed copy, I assume.
Naturally.
And my first class ticket to Chicago.
First class.
To go hang out at LaGrange.
As you can see, Carmelo, Rob is very demandy. He really demands a lot of things of you.
I expect when I get there to Carmelo to be dressed up like Connery in The Untouchables with a box of cannolis waiting on me, some sausage and peppers,
and some of his dad's homemade wine.
Yeah, not just. I want the whole family, Carmelo. I want uncles. I want cousins. I want everybody there.
I have no idea what you just asked for.
Well, no. My wife, all my in-laws are Terra Novas. They're from Jersey, and I know about Christmas. I know about, and everybody's name has to end with an IE or a Y. There's Jeannie, Mackie, Polly, Tony. I was Robbie.
And they're all doing business at the family weddings.
Well, Robbie and his wife had to move up here from Tampa because of the dog track. They couldn't keep him away from the dog track in Tampa, so they had to come up here, where he found a dog track eventually.
Oh, all right.
By which you mean he started his own in his backyard?
Yeah. No, they all have Shih Tzus. I don't know if that's just like an Italian thing, but every member of the family has at least 3 Shih Tzus. So they're probably racing the Shih Tzus around.
That must be like a Southern Italian thing. I'm not real familiar with that particular stereotype up here.
With dog racing Shih Tzus.
Yeah. That's. I got to tell you, I think I thought I've heard them all. I hadn't heard that one before.
No. Heard of Shih Tzus. But no, I hope everybody does. The graphic novel looks awesome. Carmelo is great in the group. If you're listening to this, go join his group, Chimera Comics group. They do awesome live streams. It's a really good community to get involved with.
Thanks so much, Rob. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Cool.
Even though this episode's coming out tomorrow, you're doing a live stream tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, so the night of the day we're recording this, I'm doing a live stream. So, and that's up after. They always put those up on Facebook and stuff afterwards, so you can still kind of see it and see what we're up to. But it is cool when you can watch the live streams because we can converse with you directly, and that's always really neat, right? Is like the Facebook groups are a great way to actually get to talk to people instead of just kind of shouting into the void. And when you do it live, you can respond right away. It's always pretty cool.
Yeah. We need to do more of that so we can literally just talk to David Mace and Freddie Torres over and over.
All the elites.
Yeah, who are just there.
Jeez.
All right, cool. Well, I think that wraps us up. So thanks again for joining us, Carmelo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure.
And
likewise.
Check out the link in the description, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
See you guys.
Later.
Don't Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.